Welcome to the Fourth Row Podcast, your exclusive source for 2A basketball. And now, your hosts, coming to you from the Slim 4 studio, Andy and Benny Hill.
Welcome to the Fourth Row Podcast, the only podcast dedicated solely to 2A basketball here in the snowy state of Utah. I'm your host, Andy Hill. I'm here with the coach, Benny Hill, and the newest member of the Fourth Row, Peyton Shepard, in the Slim 4 studio, sponsored by Security National. We'd especially like to thank at this time our good friend Chris Jorgensen in the Ephraim office. Give him a call, 283-3000, for all of your mortgage needs. If you're buying a new home, refinancing a home, anything in that manner, he'll take care of you, as he says. Again, turning houses into homes. We appreciate Chris being our title sponsor this year. I've also failed to mention, we also like to appreciate our mom and the Hill Family Trust for being one of our sponsors.
She reminded us today we have failed to mention her name thus far.
So she's contributed greatly to the podcast, so we need to give her a shout out and appreciate everything she's done for us this year. A reminder about the Fourth Row Podcast. We're still the number one 2A podcast in the state of Utah, 37 weeks running. We may be the only one, but we're still the number one.
Number one, baby. Number one.
The audio version of the podcast will release each Monday, with the YouTube version releasing on Thursday or Friday. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels at Fourth Row Media. Also, make sure to go and follow Peyton on all of her, especially Instagram pages.
Yep, Instagram.
We did forget to mention, so give us a rundown of your pages.
So just my personal, Pay.Shepard. You can see plenty of my son and my husband on there. And then I actually run a photography account, and that's PS Scenes. I shared a video of Anna Cutler from Kanab on there. So I'm going to get a couple of those over to you guys so you can share them on the Fourth Row page too.
Sweet. So if you haven't seen her stuff, it's pretty dang
great
good.
Stuff, yes. Very talented.
Very good. So make sure you go follow Peyton as well. Benny, what do we have on tap for tonight?
On tap tonight, we have our weekly roundup and the girls' preview at the SVC. Peyton was out in Richfield this weekend, catching up. Majority of the Power 5 teams were in action this week in Richfield. So we're going to talk to her about that. The girls' Power 5 again. Inside the numbers, I think Andy's going to go over some statistical leaders for boys and girls.
That's correct, yep.
Which will be cool to talk about. And we have the boys' Power 5 and then our G-Telco wrap-up.
Awesome. Great. Let's talk about last week.
It was a good week.
It was a lot of week. There was a lot of basketball.
A lot of games, actually. You know, the week prior was kind of slow of games. There was a smattering of games here and there, but it seemed like last week there was a full schedule. So we had, just for us here in Gunnison, the South Sphere Rams rolled into town, and they were impressive.
Very impressive.
Now, I know I saw you spending a lot of time visiting with Coach Christensen.
Yeah, I did. I had a really good visit with him, and I appreciate
we tried to hook up with him last year. We never could.
Yeah.
So that's one of the teams we've never been able to make contact with. So it was cool to visit with him.
Yeah, I think they said, Coach Christensen said this was the first time the Rams had been in the gym in Gunnison since 2006, I believe.
They did play one other time there, and I'm trying to think what year it would have been, 2012 or 13, but only one other time.
Yeah, so we haven't seen them. They haven't played us. We haven't been to Monroe. Part of that was, you go way back when they were still in 2A, then they left and went to 3A for a while, and so we just, even though it's fairly local, just never schedule them. So had a great visit with Coach Christensen. He praised his team highly. He was very happy about what they're doing. A couple interesting things about the Rams: they have no juniors on their team, so they're sophomore.
No juniors.
Their sophomore freshman team. They do have a freshman team. Really, their JV team is their sophomore freshman team, and then they pretty much just roll a bunch of seniors out with a smattering of sophomores on the varsity side. So. Obviously, they're going to graduate a bunch of those kids this year, but right now they're playing really well.
It was cool to see them. Like I said, they were a top team last year in the Power 5 regularly, and obviously this year they're going to stay in the Power 5 the whole time. So it was nice to see them up close. Tell you one thing I noticed, but they're not very big.
No, they're not.
They might. I don't know what the size are. Maybe the majority of them 5'10", 5'11", maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But they play big.
They play big, and a couple of the guys, their motors don't stop. Emilio Miramontes, one of the best players in 2A. You look at him, you're like, holy cow, that's him. But he just goes. He has himself in the right spots all the time. He takes good shots. I noticed he never gets frustrated. There's not a lot of emotion there. He's a rebounding fool.
I think last year, Sam Andrews was the number one rebounder last year. He may have been number 2.
I think he was, yeah. He plays much bigger. Then you throw Ridge Tebbs in there, Barney, Walser. They got a whole bunch of younger kids that come in and play really well. They know what they're doing. They run the same stuff. Very impressive team.
Yeah, and so it was cool to get to meet them. And Coach Christensen is a cool dude.
Yeah.
He was pretty chill.
He was
a lot different than what I thought he was going to be like, honestly.
Very gracious. We appreciate it. We had reached out on, somebody, I believe it was Lance Roberts, reached out on one of our posts or one of our videos and said, hey, how come you guys never wear any Sal Severe stuff? Mainly because we don't have any. So I said, you bring me some and I'll wear it. So here we are.
Andy's loaded in his
That's
Sal
the way
Severe
I've got my
swag.
Sal Severe stuff on tonight, is because they brought it to us, and we appreciate that. We're obviously Gunnison fans. We grew up here. We're Gunnison alum, but
And North Severe.
Yep. I'm the lone wolf over here.
Yeah. But we're happy to support any team. So you want to send us some swag, we'll wear it on the podcast. But we appreciate them very much.
So the other team we saw also in Gunnison, we saw APA West Valley, which is a team unknown to a lot of people in the state as well.
Yeah, very, very long team, very quick. I was very impressed. They had one senior on their varsity team. They played really well. Kudos to our guy. Gunnison stepped up and played a tremendous second half, came out and beat them. Very physical, most aggressive I think I've seen them play all year long. But APA West Valley, they're going to be a team down the road. I wouldn't want to play them in a one-game playing game.
I would agree with that. And for their region up there, we've seen Roland Hall thus far, and they are a superior team for their region.
Oh, yeah.
I think the region 18, 17, I don't know. Whatever. They're in the same region as Roland Hall.
Yeah.
But I think APA West Valley will be the class of that region.
Yeah, very, very good. So, and then we have...
That was our games in Gunnison. So
those were the games in Gunnison, but most of the teams out there played this week. Tuesday, not a lot of games. North Summit had their big rivalry game at South Summit. Understand Trevor Richens
feel bad about that one.
Hurt or broke his ankle. Sounds like he's out for at least 6 or 8 weeks. That hurts the Braves. They had a good thing going. They take a hard loss against their the same county rivals in South Summit. Kanab goes to play Bryce Valley that same night. Got a win there. Wednesday night, a bunch of teams were still in action. That was a nice. South Severe came over here. North Severe beat Mazer Prep that night. A good win. Keep them going. San Juan Broncos got a good win against their rivals, the Grand County Red Devils. So that was good to see them. Thursday, South Severe and Duchesne matched up in what was really a fantastic game for about 3 quarters.
Did you watch that game?
I did. South Severe ended up pulling away. Duchesne played really well.
I had to chuckle listening to the game.
Oh,
my good friend Brent McClellan given the color. They couldn't figure out Jep Young.
Yeah.
Kept calling him the big guy.
Yeah, the big guy who they didn't know who he was on the roster. I'm like, is it that hard? I thought Duchesne played really well. If there was one thing that I noticed, South Severe had a hard time defending their guy down in the post. South Severe wins going away in this, but for about 3 quarters, Duchesne was right with them.
Absolutely. The guards played well. They took care of the ball. I don't know if the guards shot exceptionally well, but the whole intent was pounding it into the post, and Jep Young did a great job.
He did. He played really well.
They called his name a lot because they couldn't figure out what his name was.
Yeah.
Just that big, tall guy.
It was fun. I actually even texted him.
Did you text Brent?
I did. I don't know if he knew who it was from, but I texted him and said, hey, it's Jep Young, by the way. That's who it is. Friday night, a whole host of games. Most of the teams are back in action. Enterprise Wolves finally back out on the court. Got a big win against Duchesne the night after they had played South Severe. North Severe picks up a huge win against Delta, 20-point win. The Wolves are playing well.
Would you celebrate that one?
Oh, we definitely celebrated that win.
Oh, yeah.
That was nice.
That was good.
Interesting note, Coach Randall did text me because last week we had mentioned that they had a whole week off. Mm-hmm. They did have some games, at least 2 games scheduled. I believe it was down in the Mesquite.
Yes.
Some games, and those games got canceled.
Okay.
So they never,
makes sense.
Everyone else was full after they'd got canceled, so they just took a week off.
Nice.
So that we weren't being lazy. We just, games got canceled.
Yeah.
So
And then Saturday, Enterprise turns back around, plays North Summit. Both North Summit and Duchesne made long trips down south. Enterprise looked good. They beat North Severe Braves 72-54. So that's
Summit Braves.
Or Summit Braves, sorry. What did I say?
Did you say North Severe?
I don't know.
Yeah, he said North Severe
That's what I
Braves.
thought. North Summit, the Fighting North Summit Braves, Mel Brown and his Fighting Braves. Enterprise is playing well. They've got it together. We'll talk about them later in the podcast, but they're playing good basketball right now.
Yeah, so there's a lot of fun games to watch.
Yeah.
And tell us about the girls.
Yeah, so we actually had the girls preview at the SVC this Friday and Saturday. But lots of those teams that were in that also played Tuesday. So this was a 3-game week for a lot of teams, and it was a lot of basketball and very fun to watch. For me personally, spent the weekend over at the SVC with my little 2-year-old, so that was chaos.
And you watched 7 games, correct?
We watched 7 games together, so it was a lot. But it was really good to see these teams in action. Last week when we did the Power 5 for our first one, it was a lot of kind of what I knew of these teams in the past and kind of what you could see off of paper, but actually getting in the gym and watching them play, it was nice. And there's some changes in our Power 5 and some big games that happened that, I was surprised by and not so surprised by.
That's what's cool about once you finally get head-to-head matchups, because we haven't had any head-to-head matchups of any Power 5 teams yet. So it's cool. You got to see these right off the bat.
Yeah, there were quite a few stacked head-to-head. So
what were some of your observations as you watched teams out there? Anything that surprised you?
My biggest surprise was probably the Beavers.
Really?
Coach Marshall. So I had them as a dark horse, but like I said, there will be some changes when we go through that. But they came out firing away. They are a very young team, but they came out and they beat North Summit. And they also played Union. So huge wins against them. I had North Summit at number 2, but they just came out and took it to them, got 2 20-point wins, and
Wow.
I was very impressed by
Beaver
the way that
got
they
2
played.
wins.
Yes, Beaver got
Good
2
for them.
wins.
Can I ask you a question?
You bet.
Since you have your husband's coaching boys, you're talking a lot about boys basketball, and you're an expert in girls basketball. Are they the same?
I don't think so.
Honestly, this is an honest question. What is different besides boys and girls?
I just think just watching the game, it's just a different tempo.
Speed?
I think, yeah, and girls, obviously in any basketball game, turnovers are what matter. But girls, I feel like in general, if you could take care of the ball and make a layup, like you're going to be okay. Boys teams, sometimes you can make all the layups you want, but if you can't hit outside shots or, if you can't stay in front of your man, like
That's a great point, yeah.
there's no hope. But
So, for instance, let's talk about Kanab, for example. They're your number 1 team, correct?
correct.
They have some tall gals.
They have some tall girls, yes.
So
Some
typically,
little tall girls.
Some little tall girls, for instance.
in boys basketball, let's say the 2A level, size can be an advantage, but it's not the ultimate advantage. You can survive without bigs.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but in girls, if you have a big that's athletic and can play, they're very hard to guard and stop.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and kind of when we get into the Power 5, I'll discuss that with North Severe. So I'll save that for a minute.
Okay,
but,
fair enough.
That's kind of the thing with North Severe boys is we don't have any bigs. We're starting probably 4 guys under 6 feet.
Nice.
And so teams that get like Enterprise or Duchesne who are very big, like my husband and other teams that are like that have had to find a way to work around it because it's very difficult.
Interesting. So what role did the shot clock play so far? What have you seen in the girls? Has it changed the game at all?
I don't think so. I thought it would more, but I feel like the game of basketball these last few years have really evolved to the 3-ball. And I mean, obviously you have transition offense that a lot of teams are playing. They're playing quicker
Anyway.
I
yeah.
mean, obviously at the end of the game, that's when you notice it the most. Like, this is nice. Like, they have to put it up. They can't hold it for 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
One thing I noticed in the Gunnison game, it might have happened twice, situations where I don't think they were necessarily trying to burn clock, but the APA West Valley was zoning, and they just didn't get any good looks, or there was deflections and the ball was bounced around, and Gunnison still made control of it. And they had a couple of shots they had to get off quick before the shot clock went off. That was about the only thing I've really ever noticed is kind of when things are a little chaotic and there's tip balls and defense is playing really well. But for the most part, you're right. Teams just play fast anyway.
Yeah. Another thing is like comparing boys and girls. I feel like it's easier for boys to create their own shot. So if 5 seconds left, we're just take them one-on-one. You pull up jumper. Girls, it's not so easy. You kind of got to work off your team more to get an open look. I mean, but that's probably the main difference. I would say.
One thing I noticed, and I just watched the North Severe Kanab game last night. I was surprised how many 3-point shots were taken. I haven't really watched girls basketball that much, just off and on, to look at it and say, all right, try to dissect a game. I was surprised not only how many threes, but how many like deep threes. They were taking like association threes last night. Is that pretty common nowadays?
I mean, for your Kanab Cowboys, it is.
They took a lot of threes.
I don't know if you guys feel like this, but when you play at the SVC and there's those 3 different 3-point lines, I feel like you're just bound to shoot behind all 3 of them.
And that's why I was curious.
Like, where are my feet at? I'm not sure if am I on the right line? Am I not?
I noticed that too. There was a couple of them that Butler, what's from North Severe?
Brooke Butler.
Brooklyn took some deep ones. I was like, holy cow, that's like NBA. And I thought the same thing. You have those 3 lines, and I wonder if you're just subconsciously saying, well, I got to get behind the line. And they were just deep. So I was more surprised and intrigued. Like, I just didn't realize the girls shot that many threes. Not that they couldn't. It's just was a lot of them.
Yeah, and you do have like a lot of teams like that. Like I said, Kanab, South Severe is putting up a lot of threes right now. North Severe is kind of mid-pack with as far as that goes. But I do think it's a subconscious thing. Like, just don't be on the line. So you're going to go
just
3 feet deeper.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I appreciate that. That's a good roundup. So let's jump in and talk about what we say really matters, and that's the Power 5. The Power 5 this year, as always, will be sponsored by Barney Trucking. If you're looking to drive one of the big, beautiful blue or white trucks up and down the road, keeping the lights on here in central Utah since 1947, I believe, contact them at www.barneyjobs.com. All right? Take it away, Peyton.
Before you roll into your Power 5, we had just our hits on social media this week, and the comments is the most you've had in a long time since we introduced you.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, we had some good momentum this past week.
I would say a lot of people were very excited. Excited. That
Good. Well, I got a lot of compliments even at the SVC, from some coaches, some moms.
Yeah, that's what we like.
I got a text from my grandma saying, I'm glad we finally have a star in the family. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, it's fun. I'm excited, and it's good to see people are excited about it too.
Yeah, that's cool. Some coaches reached out because really honestly, this is for players and coaches. Really honestly, we were players and coaches, and it's good. People like to hear their name. They do, and they like to see it. And so I'm glad some coaches reached out to you, and it'll just get more and more. So,
and as a side note too, I feel like we're moving up in a little bit world. When Robert Lovell did our game on the radio on Wednesday night, he said, we've got South Severe is rated number 3 in the Des News and number 2 in the Fourth Row Media Poll. And I was like, yes.
There you go.
We're finally there.
We're moving up.
Recognized as a poll.
So we feel like we're legitimate as much as anybody out there. So hopefully they start quoting the girls, Power 5, when they're doing the games as well. So,
carry on. Power 5 girls.
Okay, Power 5. My dark horse, like I said, I made some changes. I put Draper APA as a dark horse. They didn't play this last week, so it was hard for me to leave them in a Power 5, especially at the preview where I saw so many head-to-head games. I really think they're still there. They don't play until the very end of December, so we're even going this week without games. So that's just tough, but I still see them as a threat. So left them there. And then my next dark horse, Duchesne, they also stayed as a dark horse. They played South Severe this week. They lost by 2, so it was a pretty close game.
Nice, yeah.
It was a game of runs, though. Complete runs. They were very big first quarters by one team, huge second quarters by the next. Kelsey Grant, she is a senior, and she continues to show that she can lead her team offensively. She had 17 against South Severe, so that's a huge game for her against the Rams.
Where was that game played at?
That was at the preview.
Oh, at the preview. Okay.
Yeah. And then moving up into the Power 5, North Summit was originally my number 2 team. I dropped them to number 5. They had a rough go at the preview, but I think they're a very young team, very capable.
They were 2 in your Power 5, correct?
Yeah, they were 2 originally. Mm-hmm. So they lost to Kanab, who was the number 1 team, and then they lost to the Beavers, and both of those were about by 20 points. So, like I said, very, very tough weekend for the Braves, but the Langston girl, she's their big inside. She had 15, and she was very difficult to guard this week, and she kind of carried them. So, and then moving on to number 4, North Severe. So they were originally my number 5 team. They beat American Heritage this week, and then beat Enterprise on Friday at the SVC. But let's talk about this game. It is the Kanab North Severe game. So great game.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
This is the first time I ever pulled up a girls' basketball game on Teen Hive Live and watched.
Yeah, I was in my office last night. And my wife's like, "Why are you watching girls' basketball?"
Because it's good.
Because it's good. Yeah. Because we got the number 1 team playing. That's why.
Yep. So that was quite a game. All the first half, all North Severe. They came out hard-nosed defense on Kanab's guards. You could tell we were focusing a lot on Riley Little. She was a big presence on the inside. Our guards given a lot of tough defense up front, and then our posts were fronting her with backside help. So the first half, she didn't have a lot of offensive opportunities just because Kanab's guards were having a difficult time getting it into her. But second half was a different story. Brooklyn Butler had 17 for the Wolves. Trey Torgerson had 13. So big games for them. But coming out in the second quarter, the Wolves were up 11, and it just switched to all Kanab.
Yeah.
Complete Kanab. They went on a 25-3 run, and you know that basketball is all about runs, and the Wolves just didn't stop it at that time. But Kanab was 0 for 10 in the first half on threes, and you know that they're gonna make their threes.
Mm-hmm.
That they live and die by it. And they came out, and I think they were 6 for 11 the second half, which was huge for them. So, but just a little bit more on North Severe. They have a big game this week against Beaver, so that will be very interesting. And we have Allie Mason coming back, so this will be her first game of the season. I'm sure she's going to have limited minutes with her injury, but it will be nice to have her as an inside presence, guarding their big Talia Elisa.
Mm-hmm. I was impressed. I watched this game, and they came out early. Brooklyn played really well first half. I mean, she shot well. Mm-hmm. Inside, outside. North Severe was playing well in transition. Kanab just really couldn't get anything going, and the Wolves just kept going. And then as we started talking about this right before the podcast started, it was like the switch flipped, and there was like 3 possessions back to back. Kanab came down, got a 3, came down and got fouled, got 2 free throws, came down and then got another 3, and it was like 30 seconds and the wheels fell off. Yeah. But the one thing I was very impressed with the Wolves is they easily could have just thrown in the towel, and they came back and they made it a game at the end. I mean, it was within a couple possessions with a minute to go, so I was very impressed with them.
Yeah, there was... With about 20 seconds left, Swayze Mason got her hand on a ball.
I saw that, yes.
It went up, hit the backboard, came down and just fell into the Kanab girl's hands. But you think if that falls into her hands instead of the other girl, that's a lay-in, and it's a 2-point game with 15
very
seconds.
Impressed. And Kanab's obviously a really good team, so I thought the Wolves played well.
Yeah, very impressed by them. I think just being a North Sphere girl, that's a huge game for them to gain some confidence and know that they could be up there and playing with those top 5 teams.
Did you yell during the game?
Yes.
It's totally acceptable.
So.
Yeah, it's okay. It's totally acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm passionate, and
that's okay.
I think it's a good thing.
How'd the sisters do?
Pretty good. As far as they go, this week has really clicked. This preview's been good for them. So
good for them.
Okay, so moving on to my number 3 team, Beavers. They were initially my dark horse. So very, very impressed by them. On Tuesday, they played Richfield, who is a very solid team. They have the Willerton girl going to play at Dixie. So she's a senior. I think she had 26 points in that game.
Wow.
So
That's impressive.
yeah, huge stats. They were down, I would say, about 9-ish going into the fourth quarter, and the young team of Beaver just fought back and took them into overtime. So it was awesome, and the freshman, Danzy Bradshaw, had 2 big threes to end the fourth quarter and one, which helped him to get into overtime. And then come the SVC, they beat North Summit by 20, who was originally my number 2. Props to Coach Marshall. He switched into his own defense at the start of the second quarter, and it completely threw North Summit off. They weren't attacking as much. It was just a lot better for the Beavers. And I love seeing this, but they had 4 girls in double digits against North Summit. So that's huge stats. They have threats from all sides, whether it's Talia Lisa on the inside, Danzy Bradshaw, we have Gentry Brown on the guard line as well, and Tawny Air. All of them are always playing solid and tough-nosed defense, so that was fun to see. And then, if we're moving to number 2, the South Sevier Rams. They're originally number 3, but they continue to show that they're a threat. They as well as the Beavers, have consistent 3 to 4 players in double digits every night. And
are they a young team?
They are pretty young, yeah. I don't think they're bringing back any starters from last year.
Oh, okay.
But they do have, as I was looking at the stats, this was very impressive. Hazen Taylor, the last 3 games this week, she has had 12 threes.
Wow.
So she's hot right now. She was definitely hard to stop. I think it was like 5, 3, and 3 or something like that.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, they're playing quick. They're getting shots up. Very good in transition. Quick on defense. So I think they're going to be a tough team to beat, and they're playing Richfield this week, which will be a good rivalry for them. Mm-hmm. And to just kind of see how they're matching up against a really good team.
I just looked at their last 3 games. They've beat Draper APA, Duchesne, and then Juan Diego down at the SVC. Wow. Yep. Big wins.
So a huge week for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then number 1, Kanab is going to stay there. Can't move them out if they're not losing.
That's right.
That's right. I was on my phone just a minute ago, and because Mrs. Little, what's the daughter's name that plays?
Riley.
Sorry, excuse me. I knew Logan, her son, but Riley. So she sends a text to us. It says, "Thanks so much for a great podcast, and a huge thanks for covering girls as well. We love it. By the way, Riley Little is 6'4", just a hair shorter than her brother Logan. We love 2A basketball."
Wow. Okay.
So they have a big.
Yes. And she is very, very talented for a freshman.
Yeah, I was impressed for as young as she is. She handled herself very well.
Yes. Not only like on the defensive end, but offensively, you got to stop her from getting offensive boards, In the North Sevier game, she actually had 16 points with 18 rebounds.
Wow.
So
that's kind of what I was thinking about when I asked the question earlier. Someone that size, they can gobble rebounds.
Absolutely. Yep. And for North Sevier, having Allie Mason, she's our starter as of 2 years and at the 5. I think that will help give us a little size to push back on her. But props to her, just going out, and rebounding's not all about size either. So she gives so much effort, and she just attacks it and goes for it, and great player. Back to Kanab, they beat North Summit by 20. They beat North Sevier, ended up beating them by 6. I loved how they came out that second half, and they weren't going to give up. They were the state champs last year, but they're going to go on a huge run. Like I said, it was 25-3 run to start the second half. That's huge. The Houston girl had 17 points, 4 threes coming in the second half. So knockdown shooter. She's been really hot lately. And then Anna Cutler only had 5 points that game, but you look at the North Summit game and she has 17. So they have offensive threats from any end that you look at it, whether it's the guards, the big with Riley Little. Very tough team, very versatile. and difficult to stop, as you can tell by their 10-0 record.
Yeah. No, I was impressed. They played really well. I was equally as impressed by North Severe. They could have easily given up when they went on that big run, and they fought back, and they got really a 2-possession game right at the end. So to me, this is one of the tragedies of the RPI is you have these games early on where you want to have all this experience and you want to be in that type of setting. But if you play too many of them and don't happen to come out on the winning end, you get buried down in the RPI. We've talked a lot about this. It would be nice to really just have a preseason where you could really just have preseason games, or some games didn't count.
Like just have these preview games just be a preview game before the RPI even kicks in.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with that. We'll talk about some teams on the boys' side here in a minute. The same thing that, good teams that just get buried. They're playing tough games early. They're not coming out on top. And when the RPI comes out on Monday, they're going to be buried down there, and then you just can't catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say North Summit after the preview is probably going to be one of those teams.
Yeah.
So
and it's unfortunate, but it sounds like they had a great preview. We've talked about this. We would love to see a tournament style atmosphere. Can you imagine what that would be like to have a 3-day tournament out there early in the season instead of just a preview? Say, hey, you're going to get 2 or 3 games, but we're going to make it mean something, not just go out and play. I think the intensity. Let's say Kanab and North Severe make it to a championship game on a 3-day tournament like that. There would have been a bunch of people there, and it would have been intense. Not that it wasn't, but it's a whole different environment. When Benny's talking about when you put up a bracket, all of a sudden
people love brackets.
All of a sudden things become more important, and you play for it may just be a little bit trophy, but it changes the environment.
For sure.
Can I tell you something that was wild? When we were in the Bahamas, and that was a true tournament setting. And I loved it because they had the brackets. You'd walk down into the gym and they had the big brackets up like everyone likes to look at. But when Tennessee won, they were celebrating. Maybe not like a national championship, but it was big time. I mean, they absolutely loved it. Their fans, it was a big, big deal. I think you'd get that same feel if you had, like you're saying, preseason tournaments would be awesome.
How fun would
It
that
would be
be?
so
Cool,
fun.
wouldn't it be? Maybe next year we'll have to dial them up. We have a 4th row tournament out there at the SVC.
Hey, I think a lot of people would like that.
It'd be pretty
I think it'd be
sweet.
a lot of fun. So just to recap, why don't you just recap your Power 5 for this week, Peyton?
Okay, number 1, Kanab. Number 2, South Severe. 3, Beaver. 4, North Severe. 5, North Summit. And my dark horses are Duchesne and Draper APA.
Awesome. I love it. I love how you say you're on top until somebody takes you down, right?
Yep, you are.
Love it. Love it. Well, let's move into our new segment called Inside the Numbers. I apologize for Lance. He said it's Kimball and Roberts, not Roberts and Kimball. So we appreciate Kimball and Roberts Accounting sponsoring this segment this year and always supporting their South Severe Rams. We appreciate them bringing us some South Severe swag this week as well. So inside the numbers tonight, we want to just talk about the scoring leaders on the 2A boys and girls side, and also the 3-point leaders. So from the boys side, leading 2A in scoring, no surprise, our man Hunter Rhodes from Miller.
Fills it up.
He's playing well, 23.4 points a game. Number 2, one of the Fighting Hendersons from Rockwell.
He had 39 last week in a game.
Unbelievable. They're putting up some points. So Luke Henderson from Rockwell is number 2, 21.8. His brother Colton Henderson, 21.1. Those boys can shoot the lights out. I don't know if you remember last year, they just about beat San Juan in the quarterfinal game. Team Rockwell on the boys' side. They found their way into the state tournament, and for 3.5 quarters, they had San Juan beat.
Yes, they did.
And we talked to Coach Black later on. He's like, we weren't too worried. I'm like, are you kidding me? So they can put it up. Number 4, Comey Kerr from APA West Valley, 20.4 points a game.
What was his number?
11.
Okay, yeah. He's tall.
He's tough. There was a couple balls
really
that he
long.
went up and blocked, and I was like, whoa, that's big boy basketball.
There was one in transition. He dropped it in. He could have hammered it, but he just dropped it in two-handed. So he is a good player. Lengthy player, yes.
Very, very good player. Number 5, Quinn Eckberg from Utah Military Hillfield, 19.2. Ricky Patterson from American Heritage. Number 6, 18.8. Kai Dowdle, we saw him play for Roland Hall, 18.3. Stephen LePray, another guy out of American Heritage, at number 8, 18 points a game. Our man Mel Brown, fighting North Severe Braves.
Love Mel Brown.
17.5. And Trevor Richens, who unfortunately we think broke his ankle. He was averaging 17 points a game before he went down. I think he's pretty much done for the season.
Yeah, that's a heartbreaker for the Braves.
It's hard because
they had it last year too.
Sawyer Richens went down last year and hurt his ankle. Just some unfortunate, Coach Priest finally had his team just rolling after the SVC and kind of fell down.
Yeah,
so that's unfortunate. We feel bad for them. Really quick on the 3-point side, I'll just go through the top 5 3-point shooters on the boys' side. Kai Dowdle, we saw him play from Roland Hall, 33 threes so far this season in 9 games. Number 2, Hunter Rhodes with 27. Ridge Tebbs from South Severe has 24. Weston Larson from American Heritage, there's an American Heritage team again with 24. And number 5, Jordan Cornell from Kanab. After that, there's kind of a smattering of ones down there. Mel Brown comes in at number 8. He may be the most improved player in 2A this year.
Where is Randy Elmer at?
He was not in the top 10.
Not 10 yet?
Yeah, I didn't see him. So this goes down to 15, and there's a whole laundry list of 15. I did not see Randy on there. Let's jump into the girls' side real quick. So, Peyton, feel free to comment on these. Number 1 scorer in 2A girls right now, Aaliyah Baldwin, I believe, Draper APA, 20.7 a game. That's impressive.
That is impressive.
Number 2, Heartland Richens, North Summit, 15.5. Number 3, Brooklyn Hewlett from Parowan, 15. Sarah Snell from St. Joe's is 15. And number 4, Kelsey Grant from Duchesne, talked about her at 15. Anna Cutler from Kanab's averaging 14.5. Letitia Cauldron from American Prep West Valley, 14.5. And then Kara Camp from Millard, 13. And Ashlyn Houston, 12.8. So a bunch of Kanab girls on there. Any comments, any surprises there?
Heartland Richens, you said she's number 2, and she's such a good little player. Very, very quick off of the dribble. I think a big reason that she did have a rough weekend, as well as the rest of the Braves, but she's good enough that she's going to get her team figured out, and as you can tell, she's an offensive threat any night. Mm-hmm. So
I'd still impressive at the high school level.
Very impressive.
If you're averaging 15 or more a game, that's pretty good.
Yeah, especially she's a sophomore. So
wow, that's impressive. On the 3-point side, we'll just take a guess who you think's number 1 in 2A girls with 3-point shots made.
I'm gonna say a girl from Kanab, Anna Cutler. Or the
close.
Houston?
She's 3rd. Ashlyn Houston, number 1.
Okay, I wouldn't put it past her after this last weekend.
So number 1 is Ashlyn Houston with 26 threes. Leah Baldwin from Draper APA has 25. Anna Cutler from Kanab Cowboys, 17. Hazelyn Taylor from South Severe. This shows that she has 10. And then Kansas Mills from South Severe with 9. Then you've got another girl at the Bateman girl from Kanab at number 7. And then a laundry list of there's a whole bunch of them that have the same amount down through there. So, yep, Kanab's got 4 of the top 10, 3-point shots.
Goes to show how they play.
That's impressive.
It's very impressive.
I mean, generally speaking, if you're shooting, and they talked about this on the radio, and even like Steph Curry, he's low 40%, right? I mean, he shoots a lot of threes.
Yeah.
But if you're shooting 40%, just doesn't have the percentage. Well, actually, it does have the percentage on here. Ashlyn Houston's currently shooting 46%. That's nuts. For a high school player at this level, that's pretty impressive.
That is very, very impressive. Coaches say, we need above 30. Mm-hmm. And 47, that's nearly 50%.
So
that's insane.
Yeah, so your top 3 are all hovering right about 40%, with Ashlyn being at 46. That's impressive.
Very good.
That's when you just run sets to get them the ball.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. So that's a quick inside the numbers. Get you a quick scoring update on who's filling it up out there. Let's move into the boys' Power 5 and talk about what really matters on the boys' side.
Homer alert! I'm making the disclaimer right now. I'm going to be a homer. My dark horse to start this off is the Gunnison Valley Bulldogs. And I say it for one reason, and that is when we came into this season, I felt like I know all these players very well. They would have been sophomores the last I was there. They have all the pieces to be a great team. They have a great point guard in John Wilden. They have a great shooter. Jet can shoot pretty good most of the time. He's a good slasher. Cody Hammond is a fantastic slasher. He can rebound really well. He can get to the rim. You talk about getting shots late in the shot clock. John can get shots. Cody can get shots. Jet can get shots. And Zach Overly is an overlooked player at Gunnison that hasn't played much. He's a junior. He's had 2 or 3 great games.
He played really good Friday night.
Altamont, their previous games, he got some good minutes at South Severe, and he played really good against West Valley. And you got Tyson Tucker. So you got 3 juniors and 2 seniors that played the bulk of the second half against APA West Valley. And that's kind of the fire that I thought I'd see from the Gunnison team to start this season. And then after that, you've got seniors, Brogan Christensen will come play minutes. Carter Hill played some great minutes on Friday night as well. He did a very good job. So I think Gunnison, we finally saw that fire and that the firepower that I thought Gunnison would have to start the season. We finally saw it Friday night, and it was exciting to see.
Yeah, I think 2 words to me came in that game. Number one, they were super aggressive. They were attacking, especially in the second half. We were down 11, and we started attacking. I really, really liked that, being aggressive. The other thing is they were very physical. Tyson Tucker, he put on his football pads Friday. He was bodying up some guys, and I love to see it. He's a physical player anyway. He's not afraid of contact, but he finally played that real big physical game, and it was impressive to see what they could do.
We were getting Gunnison was getting handled on the glass in the first half. In the second half, you're right, they flipped it.
They did
physically. So I'm going to go with the Gunnison Bulldogs as my homer pick for the dark horse this week.
I think the Bulldogs are playing well. For my dark horse for this week is the North Severe Wolves.
Shout out, Coach. North Severe Wolves in the house tonight.
I think they are playing well. You throw in a win against San Juan, they got beat at the buzzer, and they're on a roll right now.
That would have given them 4 straight. Yep. They've had 3 straight since then.
They are playing well. They had big wins this week. Mazer Prep, they beat 64-45, and a big win against Delta, 75-54. I mean, that's just not eking out. They're really putting some teams out there. They've got a big game this week against APA West Valley. APA, we saw them Friday night. They're long, they're quick, but they're obviously beatable.
But one thing that the Wolves will pose a big challenge for APA is their guards will be able to get inside and attack.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's what finally in the second half happened for Gunnison, is the guards finally got inside and attacked and got shots on the drew a lot of fouls too. So I think North Severe and their guard play, I think that'll be a big advantage for them. Also, the Wolves in Delta had 15 threes.
Wow.
Coach, 15 threes. Impressive.
Yeah.
He just said it makes my job easy. That's as a 100% factually true as a coach. If you can shoot threes and knock them down, basketball's easy.
And this is one thing we were interested to see. At least for me, I was interested to see how the scoring would shake out this year. After Fielding left last year, he was kind of the big hired gun for North Severe, and he could, if they needed a bucket, it seemed like they always went to Fielding. And I was interested to see how this was going to shake out. They've got a pretty balanced attack right now. Randy Elmer, 13 points a game. He's got 17 threes. Grayson Bennett, who can, he's
I love his game.
Killed us with threes over the years. 12 points a game, 17 threes. Keaton Hallows, 9.5 points a game. And Kyson Bouchard, 9.3 points a game. He's got 3.5 assists. That's almost 4 guys in double figures. When you get that put together night after night and play the kind of defense and play aggressive the way North Severe does, they're going to be a tough team to beat. That's why I had them in this week.
Absolutely. Love it. Coach, you good with that? You good with that?
Yeah. I was just very excited to see it, all the pieces finally
Isn't it cool when
together.
just things click and you're like, this is what my husband's been talking about. The potential is there.
And you talk about those 15 threes. This year I haven't seen those boys make that extra pass, but Delta played quick. They played very good man-to-man
They're
defense.
not a bad team.
No, they are very good. And, we didn't think they would be super big, but their guards got out there and they were still bigger than us.
Yeah, they're a bigger team.
Quick defense by them, and that extra pass gave us just half a second we needed to put those threes in. So it was awesome to see, especially as a stressed out wife. Like,
makes for a good weekend.
Oh yeah, that was great.
I'm excited because now we're after the holidays and another week, we're finally into region play. Region 16 is going to be a battle this year.
I agree with you.
I mean,
top to bottom.
You've got Millard that's kind of the front runner, and I think we all kind of agree with that. But then you've got 4 other teams below them who on any given night, anybody can do anything. And I really think, this North Severe team or Gunnison could beat anybody in region as well. So every night it's going to be battle. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's go to number 5 on the Power 5.
Number 5, American Heritage. The Patriots, 5-0.
Yep.
Up in Region 18. This past week, they played Utah Military Camp Williams. Not much competition to get the century mark there, 101-41.
Wow.
Kind of a stinker there, but they got 2 big scorers, Stephen LePray, 15.6, and Ricky Patterson at 13.8. Interesting game coming up for them, which will be a big test, kind of see where they're at. They play the Enterprise Wolves on January 4th, and I believe that's up north.
Yes, that's
not sure
correct.
Exactly the location, but it is up north.
It is, yes, it's up north. We still don't know a whole lot about American Heritage. From what we see and what we're hearing, though, these guys are going to surprise some people.
I agree. Yes,
they can definitely score. One of the things I think is going to help them is once they get into region, nobody really is going to see them until state tournament.
Well,
time.
their RPI is going to be through the roof too, because they're not the region's going to be but all their wins, they'll just stack up a lot of region wins. Yep. I mean, they were undefeated in the region last year, so there's no reason why it won't stay the same this year with what they have. So they'll be a high-ranking team.
Yep, and the RPI does come out Monday morning, I believe. Tomorrow morning, I believe at 9 a.m. I'm not sure why tomorrow, but we've talked about the RPI. I have a love-hate relationship with the RPI. Let's go to number 4. This is probably the biggest change.
We had a lot of shakeups in our Power 5 this week, yes, which is kind of exciting because I think for 4 weeks it never changed, so it got a little boring. But we're shaking things up a little bit. Number 4, we're going to come in with the Kanab Cowboys at a 7-1 record. This week they played Bryce Valley, got a win 62-42. And then they lost Friday night. They played Paiute in Paiute 58-56. For the Cowboys scoring at this point right now, Jordan Cornell at 13 points per game, Kason James 9.7, Logan Little 9.2. Interesting, they were number 1. They had been number 1, our preseason number 1 for multiple weeks. And they got beat by Paiute on Friday. And by rules of the Power 5, it's who's the hottest right now.
Correct.
And it's not necessarily that there's 3 teams better than Kanab, but there's 3 teams that are hotter than Kanab. That's why Kanab, according to our rules in the Power 5, just haven't, to me, looking and watching their games, haven't been clicking as they should. And I don't know that Coach would even disagree with that, but I think Jordan Cornell, maybe not quite cranking it up as much as he normally has, and Kason James not as effective offensively as well yet.
Yeah, I went back and rewatched the second half of the Paiute game. They just never really felt in sync. Never really felt like they could get it going. At times when Kanab's playing really good, they move the ball well. Cornell's out on the perimeter. Janes and Little down inside. They can make some things happen. They just never quite got it going, and Paiute just hung around. And Paiute's a good team,
Yes.
But Kanab definitely had a height advantage. There's no question about it. Definitely much deeper team. This was kind of one of the big tests for them to see, all right, where are they at? They're 8 games into the season. You're a third of the way into the season, and it just didn't feel like they were ready to make a run, similar to the way they felt last year. And I don't think this will be a surprise to Coach Glazer or any of his staff down there. I think they're still trying to figure out where the pieces fit. They've got all the pieces to win.
Absolutely, they do.
But according to our rules, who's the hottest right now? I think the big reason why we dropped Kanab down to 4 right now is just some of that fire's had a little bit of water doused on it, and they need to figure out how to get a flame back up.
And also, there's some teams above them that are playing really well right now.
Yeah, and I think that's really what it comes down to, is there are some teams who have really hit their stride right now. We saw this last year in the Power 5 through the season. There were some teams that jumped up quick, and then they kind of fizzled out. So
the other thing right now is this point of the season, you're going into the Christmas break. So it's something like basketball has 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
You got the preseason, and it's basketball is long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the longest season, I think, of any high school sport. So you're starting in now, the second week in November, you're starting games. And so you're going hard until now. So you get that first season. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe kids get a little, I don't know, I don't know. The Kanab looks like, I don't know. I shouldn't say because I have no idea. They're just not playing as sharp as they probably would like to be at this point right now.
Yeah. So the Kanab Cowboys will be our number 4 this team this week. Excuse me. Number 3.
The Millard Eagles. They stay put at the number 3 spot, and the Millard Eagles have played an extremely tough schedule up to this point, and it's actually going to get even tougher too.
They got some hard games.
They lost this week. They played Juab. They lost a tough one to Juab, 52-50. They also lost to Richfield 64-59. 2 3A powerhouses that they played. I did talk to Coach Rhodes today. They're nursing some sickness, some flu bugs, some strep, some injuries. So if you're playing a loaded schedule like that, it's tough to play. You know, if you're not playing full strength, it's hard to compete and get wins against these bigger 3A schools. But he's pleased where his team is at. He's excited for the rest of the season. So far, I think next week must be through the Christmas. Yeah, through the Christmas break, they still have Manti, Canyon View on their schedule. The next couple games coming up. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a big test for them as well.
Yeah, and then before we hit region, they still play San Juan and South Summit. South Summit's no slouch in 3A. So you're right. I think Coach Rhodes, I think he knows his team. He's going to challenge them. They're a team that may get hit a little bit in the RPI, but I know he's saying, I know what I've got. I'm not worried about it.
And that's his philosophy. He's one of those coaches. I'm playing for the end of February, not for December.
Correct.
So they're loading up on their schedule. They got some tough ones coming up. But when you have Hunter Rhodes and Brant Stevens leading you, and you can always rely on those 2 guys to carry you offensively, they've got a fighter's chance in any game.
I'll tell you who else. Taylor Davies is playing well. So I noticed, I just checked stats the other day. He's averaging almost 13.5 a game. So he has really stepped up his game from last year.
So we have Millard Eagles they stay at the 3rd spot.
Yeah. Number 2.
No surprise, Enterprise Wolves.
Enterprise.
They're back.
They're back. They're back in full force.
We could never shake them last year. We couldn't get rid of them out of the Power 5, and I think they're going to be there for a long time this year. 4-1. They had a great week. Beat Duchesne 57-36 and North Summit 72-54. Both games at home.
Mm-hmm. They played well.
Leading the Enterprise Wolves, we have very balanced scoring. This is impressive here. Trayson Whitman at 12.8, Dax Hunt at 11, Ty Staley at 10, Brady Crouch at 9, Austin Thomas 10.
That's Enterprise to a T, right? Last year
I think that's your starting lineup there. Your 5 guys all in double digits.
And we said this many times last year on the podcast. Enterprise's individual stats will never wow you, but that's what they do. Yep. This is classic Enterprise Wolves right here.
So Enterprise is going to come in at our 2 spot.
Yeah, they got a couple big games. They got a big game against Panguitch last year. If you remember last year, they came off a huge win at San Juan, and then they just got demolished at Panguitch last year.
They laid an absolute egg over there.
Yeah.
Pre-shot clock, so it was an absolute boring game. Probably one of the most boring games I've seen in a long time.
So this one will be home. So Panguitch comes over to Enterprise next week, and then they've also got Emory, and they got that big American Heritage game right after the first of the year. So that'll be a big test to see what's going on with Enterprise. Number 1 team for the week,
South Severe Rams.
Yeah, according to
Mr. South Severe Homer over here with his gear, his shirt, and his hat on.
I will say, according to the Power 5 rules, when we say who's the hottest team right now, it is South Severe. Yeah, they are playing extremely well right now.
Most recent games, they played Gunnison Valley here on Wednesday. And they looked impressive.
They were good.
Slow start, very, very slow start for the Rams. It was 4-0 for maybe 4 minutes or so. But when they started rolling, they got the win 61-35. Very balanced scoring for them. Ridge Tebbs shot really well.
He did.
In the second half. And Emilio Miramontes, can't say enough about what this dude does. I mean, block shots, rebounding, scoring. The pace that he plays with is fun to watch. He makes winning basketball plays. That's all he does is make winning basketball plays. So he's the leader in scoring for the Rams at 17 points. Ridge Tebbs at 16.5. Riley Barney at 10.5.
Yeah, very balanced attack. Emilio makes that team go.
The other thing about Sal Sevier that I love to watch them, I've talked about how skilled their guards are, but they offensively they play really free and loose, and they just shoot. So you don't have maybe some coaches are, hey, let's pass a little bit, let's run sets, when they have open shots, they have the freedom to shoot. Mm-hmm. I think it's probably a fun brand of basketball and a fun style to play in. So when you have kids that are good shooters and they have the confidence to know that their coach is allowing them the green light whenever, and balls are going, they can knock stuff down. So Sal Sevier is going to be a tough one. They still have a tough holiday schedule. They loaded up on games as well, similar to Millard. They've got Juab, Desert Hills, and Hurricane on their schedule.
Yeah. And I think Coach Christensen, like some of these other coaches, he knows what he has. In talking to him, he knows his team extremely well. He wants to challenge him because ultimately he's playing for the end of February. He's not worried about the RPI. We talked a little bit about the RPI and how that all works. He's like, we're going to go out, we're going to challenge our guys because we want to go and make a run at the state championship. And we talked a little bit about last year when they played Roland Hall. Roland Hall just dismantled Sal Sevier in that quarterfinal game last year. And it was just one of those matchups where Sal Sevier did not shoot well. Roland Hall came in with Sam Andrews and just dominated the paint. And I think if there's one chink in the armor for the Rams, if I could say that, it's the inside post game.
Well, that's what Duchesne played him at Sal Sevier on Thursday night. The final score was 83-65, but it was a much closer game than that.
Yeah, Jep Young for Duchesne, they really had no answer for him. Sal Sevier countered that with their transition and outside play and just putting more points up, but they had no answer for Jep Young.
Yeah.
So, well, it'd be interesting to see down the road as teams, see how to deal with that. They present some tough matchups for a lot of teams the way they are, but they are playing. In our opinion, they're the hottest team right now in 2A.
Yep. So they're going to come in as our number one team in the Power 5 this week.
Yeah. So let's roll down really quick. Recap our two dark horses: our hometown Gunnison Valley Bulldogs as one team just to the south, North Severe Wolves.
Peyton's North Severe Wolves
come in as our other dark horse. Number 5 will remain American Heritage. Number 4 Kanab Cowboys. Number 3 Millard. Number 2 Enterprise, and our top team for the week, the South Severe Rams.
Absolutely. Yep.
So finally we had a little bit of a shakeup. It's going to be interesting. Not a lot going on this week. There's a couple teams that play on the boys' side, and then we go into Christmas break. There are a couple, I know the Steve Hodson tournament, I believe, is going on down in Cedar City. Kanab usually hosts their Cowboy Classic,
yes.
If that's the name of it anymore, down in Kanab. I don't know if the girls have much over the holiday break.
I'm not sure. They do have a game against Beaver, or North Severe does, on Tuesday. So that'll be big. And then boys will be going to the Kanab Classic.
Oh, nice. So you guys are going down there.
Yep.
So you have Kanab, North Severe, Richfield, and Paiute. So
wow.
That's great basketball down there.
Yeah, that's going to be
4 good
fantastic
teams.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's really good. So I'm excited to see that. And once we get through the holiday season, then we start into region play. It's crazy that most of these teams, after that point, we're already almost halfway through their season as far as games go. And then we start locking into every Tuesday, Thursday for the girls and Wednesday, Friday for the boys.
Basketball all week long.
Yeah, It's exciting. So as we move to our final segment tonight, our wrap-up sponsored by GTEL Lightburst Broadband, the Sanders family. Parting thoughts for tonight, Peyton.
It was a fun week of basketball on the girls' side. And I'm just looking forward to region play because this North and South region, it's going to be tough. And then you throw in a couple of those outstanding private schools. I'm interested to see how it goes. It's going to be good.
Awesome.
My
Coach,
thoughts?
Yeah, parting thoughts for tonight.
My thoughts are I think 2A is wide open. Mm-hmm. I really do in the boys' classification. When you start talking about Gunnison coming on, North Severe coming on and making some noise, American Heritage, which is an unknown, but at 5-0, they have size, they can shoot, they can score. They're going to make some noise. And then you have those teams down south in region 19.
19.
Region 19. South Sevier, Enterprise, Kanab. It's going to be a great season, but it's wide open.
I'm for tonight. A couple things. Number one, I want to say thanks again to Coach Christensen. He was very gracious to sit and visit. We visited during the JV game. Sometimes it's those conversations, not that they're awkward, but you just try to go down, and I introduced myself. Hey, Coach, can we visit for a minute? And it was 30 minutes later. And so I appreciate him. He was very gracious and talked all about his team. We talked about basketball and life and everything else. And so it was great. I appreciate catching up with Coach Christensen at the game. It was fun to see APA West Valley. I really wish we would see more of these cross-region games. They play a very, very different style. I was going to say, that's the one thing.
They play fun basketball. Oh, it's fast. They get up and down the court. They're chucking threes. It was fun. That was a very enjoyable game on Friday.
The coach is intense. It was just a fun basketball game where both teams were going at each other. It was really great.
Are you going up to the game?
I wasn't planning on it because I wanted to go to the North Sphere Beaver game. But now you're making me want to.
I'm telling you, it'll be a fun game. There'll be a lot of balls flying.
Fun. They are a very intense group. They play hard. The coach he gets after it. I have never been to West Valley. I don't know what kind of crowd you're going to get up there, but
typically you get a smaller crowd. But those private or charter schools, they're usually very loud. Student section. I don't know why that is, but they are. But it'll be a fun environment.
Yeah. A couple other thoughts. RPI comes out tomorrow. I'm really interested to see other than a couple teams who are American Heritage who hasn't been beat. South Sevier, I think, is going to be at the top, but I think there is going to be that 3 to 12 range. You could have a lot of teams in there. And, really that is going to set the tone for the rest of the season. If you fall down in the 10, 11, 12 range, it's almost impossible to get out of it at this point. A team like Duchesne or some of these other teams that have played good teams and just haven't been able to go, they're going to get buried. That is what I don't like about the RPI, because you want to get into region play, but region play is really just another game for the RPI.
Correct.
So, preseason will make or break your RPI, but there's some teams playing really well. I agree with you. 2A is wide open, more so than I can remember for a long time. It is wide open. A lot of exciting things going to happen. It'll be nice to get through the Christmas break and kind of get that out of the way. And come the 1st of January, it's game on.
Well, that's why I've always said this. That's once you start getting those head-to-heads, that's when it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for girls basketball this year. In all sincerity, I love having you on. This has brought a whole new dynamic to this. I in talking to people and seeing messages, seeing people like and seeing people comment on your post. People are excited about this.
Yeah, like I said at the SVC, I got a lot of compliments and even just walking around, hey, good job on the podcast. Thanks. I was really nervous, but I appreciate that.
But that's why we do this, is really just to give these kids some credit for what they're out there. They're out there working hard. They're doing the very best. And it's just fun to hear your name or hear your team's name or somebody say, hey, good job. And that's when, for you to say that, that's when I say, all right, we're winning. We're winning here on the podcast when people are listening and recognizing that. And I still believe there's a lot of people. I talked to somebody again from Gunnison Friday night, and they said, you guys do a podcast? I'm like, well, we're only 50 episodes in or something. Yes, we are. So there's a lot of work to do to get this out there. But with your help, I think we're making some great inroads.
For sure.
Yeah. So we appreciate everybody joining us again this week. Hopefully everybody has a Merry Christmas.
It is Christmas time. I was going to talk about Christmas before when we were doing the weekly roundup. It's Christmas time. Yeah. You notice we're finally getting our Christmas tree in upstairs.
I said that to your son. I said, you're just barely getting this up.
Yep.
That's all right.
During basketball season for all those years, Christmas became kind of like the afterthought because you're doing all those other things. And so this year we actually had time, but we just didn't do it.
The tree's up right before. It's good.
Just in time. Yeah.
So the other thing that's just an interesting fact. So Benny had his birthday on the 28th of November. My birthday was Friday night, so we're what's commonly known as Irish twins. So for 3 weeks, 3 weeks out of the year, we're the same age. I don't know what my mom was thinking. She'd say she probably wasn't thinking.
I was the mistake.
But
You were the mistake.
so this is a fun time.
Yeah, it is.
Fun time of year. Having a birthday in December is not fun. I'll be honest with you. It's kind of like, oh, well, I'll just kind of wait till Christmas. Our mom's birthday is actually on Christmas, and she absolutely loves it. I don't know that I would.
I was born on Thanksgiving Day, and
was.
I love Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So every 4 years.
7 years.
Oh, 7 years.
Yes.
Oh, really? So 7 years it falls on Thanksgiving. So
That's my holiday. Sorry, my holidays.
little
rant
factoids
I went on.
about the Hill family. But we appreciate everybody joining us. We hope everybody has a very merry and safe Christmas. Peyton will be back here after the first of the year to
Give
catch
her
up.
some weeks off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go enjoy some time with your family and give your sister some pointers and say, hey, you got to keep yourselves in the Power Five.
Yeah, seriously.
There's some pressure now. It's
we'll
not
be
just,
at the gym working.
yeah. do you get after them?
Sometimes. Just depends.
It'd be a lot of fun. Again, we appreciate you joining us. Just really quickly, I'd like to give a shout out to all of our sponsors. We try to get as much as we can up on social media and announce them on the podcast, but we probably don't give them a due justice that they deserve, but we appreciate all them. Our title sponsor, Security National, our good friend Chris Jorgensen. We've talked about this. Day one, we came up with this crazy idea, and we went to Chris before we did anything, before we'd even bought any equipment. And he's like, yeah, I'll support you guys. So we appreciate him very much. The folks at Redmond Inc., very good sponsors. We reached out to them last year. Dixie Power, Barney Trucking, 2 years in a row. Barney Trucking has sponsored us. I got a message this week from some of the folks over at Barney's, and they said, we appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you very much. Our dad worked at Barney Trucking for 37 years, and so we have a great love for those guys. They took very good care of our family when my dad passed away, so we thank Barney Trucking. Sanders Family Lightburst Broadband, very good. They've been very good to us. They're big baseball guys, so when it comes around to baseball season, and the Vikings won. They were down 36-0.
I think that's the largest comeback ever in the NFL, is what I'm told.
Yeah. My son is a Vikings fan. First half, he was done for. And
Did he even watch the second half?
He didn't. He came to me. He's like, Dad, the Vikings won. The Vikings won. I'm like, you're a bandwagon fan. Anyway, we appreciate the Sanders family. When we get around to baseball in the spring, that's their thing. I appreciate them very much. Crosby Home and Farm down in Kanab, and the good folks at Snow College South. It's 2 years in a row Snow College has signed up to help us, and we appreciate them and everything they do for all the local sports.
There's a Traeger to be won at some point.
There is.
Give a Traeger away from Crosby.
Yep.
Home and Farm.
So make sure you go on, check out as we put some more stuff here on Instagram during the holiday season. Make sure you like and follow and comment on that to get entered. I know, Peyton, you said your family would like to win that. Maybe she
did.
and Cody.
I
won that,
noticed
right?
she
Yeah, I went
subscribed.
subscribed.
Yes, she did.
Nice. There's no reason you can't.
I know, but
Even though
would
you're
you even pick me if I actually won?
Absolutely.
We got to make sure we draw it out of hats. So
We'll
it's
do it
legit.
completely random.
Yeah.
We'll do it right here. So
It's going to be right in front on camera, so you can't cheat it.
Well, we appreciate our sponsors. We've said this many, many times. We couldn't do this without our sponsors. Most of the high school athletics, sports, community stuff could not be done without sponsors. There's just not enough money to go around for these kids. And so you go into any gym anywhere in Utah or anywhere around, you're going to see some of these same guys. I guarantee at North Severe, most of these are up on the wall out there. I know they are. This is what makes things happen out there. So we appreciate that. Again, make sure go on and subscribe. Follow us on our social media. Go and follow Peyton. You want to see some good sports videos and some good wedding videos. If you're looking to get married, soon I'll put a plug in for
if
that.
you need
There we
wedding
go.
photos,
Just
wedding video,
advertise.
bingo.
Peyton,
What is give us your Instagram handle again?
PS scenes.
PS Scenes. Okay.
very
PS Scenes.
impressive. Her work is absolutely amazing. Go and check that out if you have anybody, or if you need any sports photography done.
I got you.
Peyton's got you taken care of. So
Thank
we'll be on
you.
the podcast. Look her up. You see her floating around. Say, hey, I need a picture of my kid out playing. You will not be disappointed. So anything else for tonight?
I'm done.
Ready to done? As we get ready, appreciate everybody joining us. Coach Shepard, who's been with us here in the studio, appreciate him. Ben's boys have been down here off and on. They're our producers, as we say. So we appreciate them, Ben. So for the coach, Benny Hill, for Peyton, who we commonly refer to as our girls basketball expert, and for the fourth row, I'm your host, Andy Hill, and we're out.
Thank you for spending your time with the Fourth Row. For more information, check out our website at fourthrowmedia.com or send us a message through any of our social media channels.